Hey guys, this is Simon with ToughTrader.com doing the ES trade review for Tuesday the 15th. We had a good day trading ES. It was nice. Not a lot of trades, but effective. So the purpose of the trade plan is to kind of go through, take it step by step, and learn how to learn how we set up the trade, what decisions we made, or what processes we went through so that we could set up having a good day. And we want to learn from mistakes so we can carry them forward to the following day and improve on that. So we want to take two things, right? We want to do two things. We want to see what we did really well today, carry that to tomorrow, right? We want to see what we did and didn't do so well and see how we can improve it and carry that to tomorrow too. So we end up with two goals. One goal is to continue doing what we did well and to improve on a weakness. That's how you get better day by day. The goal of trading, it can't be done perfectly. It can only be done better. Your personal performance can only be better as you move forward, right? So let us get started. Okay, so first of all, before we get started, legal notice, if you'll take a minute to read this. Past performance is not indicative of future results. This is for educational purposes only. I'm not soliciting you to buy or sell anything, but particularly equities or anything related to do with the financial markets. I'm just here as a teacher sharing my trade plan with you in hopes that it'll make you a better trader, right? Number one suggestion I have is stop blowing up. If you're losing money, stop paper trade till you get right on paper trade, and then go back to real money trading and be well funded, be properly funded. It's hard when you're not well funded. So, okay, so jumping into the day's trade plan. So number one, the way we start off the day is we have our zones laid out. These are posted to members every evening. They've already been posted beforehand. And so we can do a cursory examination of how the day worked. So a couple of notes. First of all, what the primary target was actually was to get above and below this anomaly right here. So an anomaly is part of what's a profile, and it's an area of the profile that needs to be repaired. And usually what I expect to happen is a push into the anomaly the first time to get an initial rejection. But really what we're looking for is push underneath that anomaly, a push back up, a backside test, then a continuation higher. Unfortunately, this anomaly did not hold, and there's a couple of reasons for that, and we'll go over it in just a second. But what did hold and what we finally wanted to get to, so see how this top of this open window kept getting responsive buyers? I was really looking all day long to either get into Dalton's Gap or into this 2697, 2695 area. And we couldn't get all the way down here till the end of the day. And it was a weird day, right? So sometimes you get days where you're like, oh, I know exactly what's happening here and I can understand the process. But usually you don't get a gap down. The V-shape wasn't a problem, but usually the V-shape either ends up being an extension up or you reverse and you turn into a trend day when you can't make it halfway past the first 5-minute bar. And we just ended with Chop City. It was just a weird day. That's all I can say. It was just a weird day. They didn't want to let it go to the downside. And it was just actually a balanced day. So we had a couple of things that you could tell that this was different. So first of all, we gapped below prior day's low, right? We failed to get above the first 5-minute high. So this is just going through a checklist so that I can see and be prepared for trading through the course of the day, right? These are just basic things that I teach some of the guys I coach so that you can know what you're looking for in terms of the trade. So if you're long, the first thing you wanted to see here is you want to see the ability to get above the last seller. So if you look, we just ripped straight down in the morning. That was pretty easy for us. We were looking to get above the last 5-minute seller or get it underneath the anomaly and back above and backside test it. Neither one happened early in the morning. We just sidestepped this. This wasn't short or long or anything else. This was just gap down and go to the downside. What was surprising was the complete V shape that it took. I would have expected some rejection here. And you can see we initially, I'm going to spread that out because the zones are important, right? So you can see initially as we pushed in, you did get rejection out of the zone. When you traded above, you backside tested, you did get a positive response back up. It was this sideways rip right here from about 9:45 until 10:45 that's just bizarre. On a day when you gap down, you don't expect to have this sideways trading. And then you can see we just came down and we finally almost made it all the way down to Dalton's Gap in the afternoon. And so there wasn't a lot to do, right? So it is what you get from that, right? There just wasn't a lot to do. We'd been up for 7 days in a row. Really, sellers seemed kind of disinterested after the original push down, and so did buyers kind of seem disinterested as well. So how did we end up making money out of all this noise? Well, what we were able to capture was the short right here, and then multiple members caught this last push down into this 2750, which again you'll see the 2700 we had marked off, and they caught this last push down. And what's the reason why they caught this last push down? Because you don't expect a market to close on the low. You had tons of shorts trapped down here, and they were able to get a beautiful roll. One trader in particular was able to rip almost 10 points out of this upside rip right at the end of the day, and it was just a nice trade. So what I want to discuss is how this short set up and how the market looks overall. So the number one thing, let's start with what we do every day. Let's jump to the profile really quick. So if we look at the profile, rid of this since we no longer need it. And if we look at the profile, we will see let me see how I can drag this around. Here we go. Okay. So what you can see is we were moving to the upside every single day. And the first thing we had to have in order to get a decent short going is we had to be able to trade below prior day's low. And you'll notice we haven't been able to do that going all the way back to, how many days we've been unable? Going all the way back to the 8th, we haven't been able to trade below the prior day's low. Clearly, when we opened today, we had a big gap. It left you with what effectively is an island reversal of these guys up here, left you with overhead sellers. And then what I was looking for and hoping for and still hoping for, this is a double distribution down here. Okay, the 68.40 to 68.23 on NQ. Sorry, ES chart looks identical. Let me grab that up real quick. That's what I meant to focus on. Here we go. So same thing. We've just been pushing to the upside for multiple days. Wrong chart. You can see again, the 8th was the last time we were able to trade below a prior day's low. We've been grinding up, and we've been effectively, this is a, for those who don't know, this is a TPO profile, right? And effectively what you ended up with was leaving all these guys stranded. And if you'll look, you would have thought we could push in here, and maybe we just get that tomorrow. No one was interested in really selling to new lows this afternoon. They just couldn't get any drive. But I would expect that 2694 to 2697 area to provide a response. And then the bigger picture, if we can stretch down this double distribution, that 2680 to 2675, I expect a response. And now, just looking forward to tomorrow, this second distribution up here. So this is resistance. Make no mistake, that 27, really 28 to 2730. But I think the stronger resistance is up at 34, 37. That's a double distribution, and you can usually bet double distributions end up providing great counter trade location. So we opened up. The first thing to avoid on a gap down is an open drive lower. We did that successfully. How were we able to identify the open drive lower? If you go back to our chart over here. So number one, open drive lower. First bar is red. Secondly, you'll notice trading is all about noticing little changes in distinction, right? Notice that the first 5-minute bar is almost double what we've had every other day this week. Look how small the first 5-minute bars are. That's a pronounced open drive lower, and you've got to be very sensitive to range expanding. So this is the first clue that we were going to move lower. Secondly, an inability to trade above the first 5-minute high told us that sellers were in overall control. Excuse me. Secondly, look, 1, 2, 3 red bars. That's classic open drive lower, each bar lower than the prior in terms of the body of the bars. That was the next clue that sellers were in overall control. So then what are you looking for is stretch. And you'll hear me in the room constantly talking about look for a 10-point stretch. 2716 brings up 2706. And here's the interesting thing. There was really nothing support-wise at 2706 except a 10-point stretch. And you can see that you get a response off of 2706 for almost absolutely no reason other than it was a 10-point stretch. I did not have a support point there. I did not take that long. When I see an open like this, I pretty much sidestep the first half hour on most days anyways, and I definitely sidestep this. What I did not expect was the complete turn, and see how it was just all sellers turned to all buyers and pushed right back up. but that created an opportunity for us. And I want to show you that. If you'll notice, when we push up here, what this looks like on the algo, which I'm going to switch to right now. And I'm going to go back to that time frame. This created two things for us. So this is that push up, and this algo's on a much, much smaller time frame, and that is oil. So let's get off of oil. Here's ES. There we go. And go back to that same time frame. Give me just 1 second. So this algo is on a smaller time range. This is a 1.5 range bar, and I was looking for the reversal. And we're doing two things when we're looking at this. I have this bar over here, which is telling me when there's really turns, it highlights it. And you'll see I still have my arrow marked. This was where we shorted. This is where we shorted today in the room. You'll see, but what you'll see is we had two things. So this is kind of our radar. And what we're looking to do on the radar is we really want to look to get long below this area, below that blue line, down to that red line. And we want to look to get short if it'll set up above the blue line on top. And we want to really stay out of the middle where you'll see a lot of chop. This is VWAP. You'll just see a ton of chop going off in here. And this is where we try not to take any trades at all in the room. And we don't just try, we don't take any trades in the room at all in this location. So why is this important? A, this gives us trade location to grab the trade and push to the downside. This gives us trade location to push to the upside. And if you look all day long, if you simply placed your trades in those locations, again, I'm going to stretch this out because it's really important, right? Just by simply knowing that that was those are the areas we want to find our trading opportunities. Look how many responsive buys and sells came out of those key areas. This is a really important aspect of my trading in terms of locating it. So I knew I had location up here. Now I'm going to flip, right? I knew I was in the right area, specifically above 27.14. I knew I was looking for a short, potentially. And then the algo kicks in, right? Why is that important? Because if you look at the algo at that same time frame, let's reset this really quick. There we go. And if you look at that algo on the same time frame right up here, what this is telling me, so the algo is cutting down the amount of work I have to do. I know when these bars turn blue and purple that I'm getting a ton of buy pressure and a ton of sell pressure. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for 2 consecutive bars back to back, for lack of a longer explanation, that are showing me high delta, high sell pressure that are coming back against the grain after an extension. This bar is my entry. It sets up an entry, an exit, and a stop right above here. And you'll see on the members private Twitter feed, and I put this in at the time. So you can see right down here. Let's do this. Instead of messing with this, we'll just go right to our tweets. And you'll see right down here, those are the charts for tomorrow. And you will see short ES. So you'll see the time posted here, right? So that's California time. You'll see short ES 27.13.50. So that was 9:42 my time against 27.16.75. So I had 3 and a tick, 3 points and 1 tick of risk on this trade, right? Clearly defined. And you'll see that what that called for was an entry right here at 27.13.50. So I wanted it up just basically, this was our entry right on the backside test. We entered right there, and we wanted to stop 1 point above. So why is all this important? Because I don't know when I enter this trade. So this is important. A lot of people want certainty where there's not certainty. I don't know for a fact that this is the high. What I do know is when I get this set up, I have a very high odds of winning, right? So remember the rule on winning. If you have an 80% chance of winning, that means there's 2 randomly distributed through any process, right? So that means in 1,000 occurrences, you're going to have 200 losses out of 1,000, right? And that means you don't know where your losses are going to pop up. So you have to leave enough risk for a potential backside test of the high. And that's why the stop is 1 point above the swing high. Now, what are targets? Normally I try to get 3 and 4 points. In this case, it was 2 and 4 points because the PA was just weird today. And I wanted to get in this trade and out of this trade. So you can see almost immediately from 27.13.50, we were able to tag 27.11.50 and then 10.50. You can see in the notes to the members as we're going through the day, If I can close this, there we go. And you can see first scale hit, and it was really pretty darn quick, right? 7:43 was a minute later. We were able to garner 2 points, then 3 points, and then close the balance of the trade out at 27.08 for 5.5 points on the trailer, right? So, and then we were trying again at 27.13 against 27.1650. Again, if you'll look where this came up, this was at 10:03 a.m. and we couldn't get filled. This was this trade right over here, and I was hoping that we would push up just one more time. I was trying to get this short in this area, and it came in and out so quickly that I couldn't get the trade posted up, and I couldn't get entry myself. So I was limit here, never filled, and you see we just rolled down super nicely from that point. And those were really the two best entries of the day for shorts to the downside, and you really couldn't have done any better. We eventually, after going through an hour of chop there's nothing for me to do when the market goes like sideways like this. And so what do I want people to get out of this is, and this is important, right? What I want you to see is I'm trading in specific locations. I'm looking for specific setups. I'm letting the computer do a certain amount of the work for me, right? So that I know if I have generally location, right? So I know that that was a big stretch off the low, right? And you'll see me talk about 10-point stretches all the time. You'll see that we rolled from 27.03, 27.02 in the early first half hour market all the way up to 27.13. So I already had my 10-point stretch. I'm hunting for a potential scalp location at that point. The next thing that I had in this process, right? So this isn't a frantic kind of search. This is like, okay, I need to get up beyond my beyond the blue line and hopefully up into the green line to find a trade location. So this is telling me, hey, Simon, go hunt for the trade, go look for it. And then finally the bars themselves, right here, excuse me, right over wrong chart. Get this cleaned up. There we go. Finally, the chart themselves, and with no hesitation, this wasn't like it was hard. It just kind of almost presented itself to us. We get the 2 bars down. We know that there's heavy selling pressure in this. We know we have good odds of getting a continuation lower. We know we're in gap down. We know that we've had an inability to get above the first 5-minute high. We have a 10-point rotation. There's so much working in favor for us in this trade. This is really just a beautiful trade. And the next trade, our goal was to get along off that 2,700. And we just couldn't get all the way down to 2,700 to get the long. Finally, at the end of the day, several members took 2,750 for the long, right? And I know, and I'm going to read this right off the one of the members in the room, Victor, and he sent me a text message tonight, and it was really cool. And I like sharing it with other people because I know people struggle with their trading sometimes. And he goes, he put 2 things. He said, let's see here, Victor. He goes, so he sent me a personal message. My family's been sick, and they said separately, I only traded once today, but I killed the last 35 minutes complete home run. And then he said, he goes, I go, I'm glad you had a good day. And I said, thanks, you too. He goes, I know today was weird, balanced day, down -1% without having much volatility. He goes, but I listened to you. He goes, and it was good not to revenge trade or force anything without getting the best signals. He goes, I was patient. I waited for my location, and I hit a home run at the end of the day. To me, when I'm coaching people, guys, and I'm trying to help people make money, that's the best kind of feedback that I can possibly get through the course of the day. And that's what I do in the room. And it's why I do this every day. My trading is good. I already know that. It's how can I help other people make money, learn the market, and get better. Anyways, that's my 2 cents. If you give me a penny for my thoughts and I give you my 2 cents, it means I'm down 50% on that. So anyways, think about that. Have a good night. Trade well. Follow a trade plan. If you'd like to visit the room, the rates in the room are going up at the end of the month. Currently charge $95 a month for pretty much everything. The charts, being able to see algo. That doesn't mean getting the algo on your desktop. That's a separate service. But being able to see the algo through the course of the day and me commentating on the market. Most of the day I'm in here commentating on the market, looking for a trade and setting up the price action. That's going to go from $95 a month to $199 a month. If you like a 5-day visit into the room, send me an email to toughtrader, TOUGHTRA, Trader Tough, dyslexic, Trader Tough at gmail.com. And our website is toughtrader.com. Anyways, have a great night and trade well, make money. You don't have to trade a lot to make a lot of money. Just have to have the right location. So have a great night. We'll talk to you all later.